Hey, Pat Rigsby here, and today I've got a really kind of different and unique episode for you. So, Holly and I did a training for clients. We were going to be headed out of town, and so I wanted to put together a training for clients on how to navigate the personal and professional side of being business owners and couples successfully. And so we put together, an outline. We had a plan, and it ran for a pretty long period of time. So we've broken it into 3 parts to share with you this week. We thought it was good enough that you would enjoy it too. So we wanted to share it not just with clients, but also with listeners of the podcast. So the first episode is today, and you'll also get to hear 2 other episodes, so you'll get the entire training broken up into 3 parts this week. So let's get started with part 1.
Welcome to the Fitness Business School with Pat Rigsby, the podcast for fitness entrepreneurs who want to make more income, have greater impact, and enjoy more freedom in their ideal business. If you'd like an accelerated route to these goals, email me at pat@patrigsby.com and put BGA in the subject line, and I'll get you all the details about our Business Growth Accelerator program.
Hey guys, Holly and I are here today, and we're going to be talking about blending personal and professional together successfully. It's something that I think that we both try to work with you guys individually on, and it's certainly something that we try to practice at home, and I think we found some degree of a rhythm with it, so we thought it would be useful to share with you today. So, any preamble from you?
No, I'm excited to be able to share a little bit of the behind the scenes about what you see on camera. Really is a lot of that is the making in what we do on a daily basis.
All right, so we've got some notes here. I will tell you that the notes are A, in my handwriting, so they're not very legible, and B, they're just maybe to get us started. They're talking points, so I have no idea where this is going to go. And
those are my favorite kinds, though.
All right. So really the first piece of this blending of personal and professional, because let's face it, as small business owners, we don't really have a great dividing line, like black and white, between where business ends and personal begins, or vice versa. Everything kind of has to work in harmony, right? If you decide to work a little bit extra in a given day or a given week, you're going to have to probably concede a little bit on the personal side. Or if you go on vacation, you're going to have to make some concessions or some considerations on the professional side. There's so much to it that, this kind of interwoven mentality we have as business owners is something that we don't want to take for granted. We want to sharpen up and really be proactive with. So the first thing that I think about, and I don't want to speak for you, but I know that when we discussed it, is just this concept of care. And I know when we talked about it, when I think of it, there's almost this kind of continuum of care that really is at the foundation of everything, where there's self-care, and then there's couple care, and then the next kind of layer is that family care, whether it be immediate family or in some cases extended family, and then the close relationships you have with close friends, loved ones, and then client care. I mean, we prioritize, obviously, the stuff we do with you guys over the last one, prospect care. And, if we think about this, like, okay, how can I take care of this other person? How do I take care of myself? How do I make sure that they're doing well, or at least how do I try to influence that? How do I try to, make their today just a little bit better, to set them up for success. Yeah, that one. Set them up for success moving forward. That should be really paramount, because if you're doing that, if that's your mentality, if you're thinking, okay, how do I take care of this person? And you kind of enter it with this servant mentality, you're going to be so much better off. But why don't we break these down just a little and talk through them incrementally? So you do a great job with your women when it comes to self-care, right? Like you talk a lot about that. So why don't you dig into that a little bit?
Well, and I think the root of that is because I prioritize my own self-care. Because if I wasn't taking care of myself, how in the world would I be able to teach that to others? And that began with me cultivating a morning routine. And this is going on like 5 years? Does it seem 4?
Probably something like that, right?
4 or 5 years.
5, no?
So and I was really paying attention this morning, so I'd be able to talk you through a little bit of what that looks like. But it begins with having a consistent wake-up time and having a set of actions that you do when you wake up. So it kind of takes the thought out of what am I doing, protecting you from distractions, and really focusing on filling your cup first. And that's going to look different for each one of us. But for me, it's a matter of setting things up the night before, so it's very automatic. So when I wake up, I put my clothes on, and I'm going downstairs, hydrating, taking my supplements, and I'm out the door going for a walk. And I was thinking about this morning how my morning walks have really been foundational to my physical and mental well-being because, number one, getting your body in motion is very important to start the day, but also it's a cleansing act for my mind. So no matter what's going on with me during those, or on with me, on with my family, going on in my personal life, business life, I'm able to kind of process those thoughts during my walk, and usually I have some creative bursts. So since we've moved, I've noticed that my walks are 10 minutes shorter. And at first that really bothered me. And I was like, oh no, but I used to do 30 minutes. But I was like, this is like kind of like transitional that, yes, these are a set of actions that have worked for me, but I also have to see how they change and evolve based on different seasons of our life or transitions like big upheavals like moving. So I began to appreciate the walk that I do have, that yes, it's shorter. It's a little bit more intense because there's more hills. And in turn, that gives me an extra 10 minutes to do something extra in my morning routine. So it's not only just what am I doing to fill my cup in the morning, it's also being aware of what can zap my energy. So I've made very sure that I do not open my phone, I do not open my laptop, I'm not distracted by anything else first thing in the morning, so that I am filling my cup, I am energizing myself, giving myself that focus so I can give when it's time for me to give to my son, my husband, my family, as well as being able to dive into business.
So something that we've talked about is this concept of a morning routine, and realistically for a lot of people in our world, they don't have the luxury of a real extended morning routine because I'd probably force them to get up at like 2 in the morning, right? Because a lot of people are with clients or opening the doors on the business at 5 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning or something like that. So you've got your 3 things that you encourage people to do and then kind of a window that they should do them in. So go ahead and touch on that real quick.
Yeah, I call it the morning trifecta. It's movement, mindset, and nourish. And the way I teach my moms, it's not about waking up earlier, it's waking up better, and that you're aware of what you're going to be doing to take care of you as you weave your routine in between your responsibilities. So right when you wake up, hydrate, maybe the kids are up, make them breakfast, then you can go do a 5-minute feel-good flow, then come and get the kids up and ready and for school, getting ready for school, depending on what that looks like. But it's taking those concepts and saying, as long as I spend at least 5 minutes taking care of me in between my responsibilities, I'm filling my cup first, and that's giving me that head start to my day. Because like I teach morning routine, it's going to dictate the momentum, your mood, the energy for the rest of your day. And if you can just spend 5 minutes on those concepts of movement, mindset, and nourish, it's going to give you that jump start for the day.
So I think that's important, right? Because Holly's schedule is not as front-loaded as maybe somebody who's got people waiting on them for a training session at 5:30 or 6 a.m. Now, I will tell you, a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, her day was a little more front-loaded because Tyler had to be out the door and go to school. So it's evolved and changed. And
I've had my 5 a.m. wake-up calls, and That's where I would weave in. I would do my 5-minute feel-good flows with my teenage son, and then we'd be out the door.
Yeah, because you would break it up.
Yeah.
Like now, you do most of this stuff, it seems like, consecutively, just from an observation standpoint. Whereas back then, it would be, okay, I do this thing, and then I get breakfast ready for Tyler, then I do that thing, and you kind of wove back and forth. And I think sometimes we get this kind of, rigid mindset that, hey, Hal Elrod teaches this miracle morning routine, or Craig Ballantyne did that. I mean, we have to be cognizant of the fact that that's their job, and they don't have the same obligations that we have. And so when we get to talking about planning, I think making sure that we are allocating the time, or filling the containers of time, as she'd call it, with obligations, so we know what we have to work with and we can create around that. So, yeah, I mean, I think self-care is a big piece of this, but I also think that's the starting point, right? I know other things that have to be done for self-care. Oh, look, somebody's coming down here to grab some toys. See, he has things to do in between.
He weaves.
Yes, he definitely weaves everything in between classes, right? Yeah, the whole virtual schooling thing is Alex living his best life, no doubt. So, I think that for me, there are a couple of things that I know that I'm better when I'm doing, and then I feel worse when I'm not doing. I mean, clearly, self-care, simple stuff, nutrition, hydration, those sorts of things. I think that, the more we are in tune with that, the better off we're going to be with energy, and really kind of what she talked about, filling our own cup so we've got something to pour to others, right? But I know for me, if I don't do a little bit of, I title it my planner study, but it's really just self-development stuff. If I'm not reading, if I'm not listening to something that helps my creative juices, and that's so that's one of the things we're different on. When I go on a walk or I hop on the treadmill downstairs, I'm listening to a podcast or a course, because for the bulk of the time, I'm doing this, right? I'm responsible for coaching others, and I need to make sure that I always have some input, and I'm hearing different ideas, or I'm hearing different ways to go about conveying an idea. I mean, for you guys, it could be something as simple as something you probably deal with now that I even began dealing with when I was a baseball coach. You can cue somebody on a movement, but if you just keep cueing them with the same cue and it's not changing anything, well, to be an effective coach, we got to find a different way to say it. We got to find a different way to elicit the behavior or action we want. And so sometimes, I can just listen to something or read something and come up with a different way of trying to convey a concept to somebody that makes it easier for them to grasp and put into action. So if I'm not doing that, I can tell you, it kind of drains me. I know that my best me has that in play every day. And, I read before I go to bed every night, and I'm sure that I've probably read before I've gone to bed every night, 95% of the nights in my adult life, right? The idea of doing a little bit of, I guess you would call it self-care when it comes to kind of the brain, the mentality, all that sort of thing. I do neurofeedback, really. I just saw how effective and useful it was for Alex. So I'm like, man, if I'm going to go lift weights or take walks or do whatever else physically, I should probably be doing some stuff to work on kind of the internal, whether it be mindset, whether it be actual, brain function. So making sure that's part of my routine has been something that I've really woven in over the past 3 or 4 years, and it's helped me a ton. Whether it be using things like Headspace or neurofeedback, I know that things that probably would have caused me more stress or anxiety or frustration years ago, having that sort of stuff to temper it has been huge. And I know, obviously I didn't experience the whole start of the pandemic both ways, but it never really caused me much anxiety or stress or whatever else. I just kind of leaned into, okay, this is where I'm gonna thrive. This is where I'm best, is in this sort of environment. And I think it helped me be there entirely when a lot of people needed a lot of help. So, anything else on self-care?
Oh, I just wanted to point out that you're reading each night. That's another example of that's what works for you, and to be disciplined that, you have something that technology that you're reading off of, because I know that some struggles that people have is that they're taking a screen with them to bed and they're scrolling and it's disrupting their sleep. So knowing the difference between the discipline of I'm going to take this device and use it solely for this purpose, and having that intention and sticking to that makes a big difference too.
Yeah, there's no internet when I'm doing this, and I use the blue light glasses so the light doesn't kind of stimulate my brain. I can tell you anecdotally, I fall asleep much quicker reading now than I ever have, and I don't know if that's just me getting old or the use of those glasses, but it seemed like it accelerated with the use of those glasses, so we'll attribute at least part of it to that.
You're not getting old, you've just been young for a really long time.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to couples care, because I think if you have a relationship that you're trying to thrive in, at the same time you're being a business owner, man, it's just different, right? Like it is not this traditional 9-to-5 setting. And because business owners, and I saw this as a baseball coach, right? Like it's not the norm. The odd hours, the kind of pour yourself into it at all times type of mentality, that's not the norm. And so most people didn't grow up in that environment. So if we are in many ways kind of a product of our environment, it's new to the other people in your lives. And I think that, again, you have to be proactive, because not only, all the normal stuff, yes, everybody needs to be proactive in facilitating a healthy relationship, but when you're talking about adding the additional dynamic of being a business owner, it can be a battle. And I can tell you, growing up, my parents, largely my dad, but my mom kind of worked in the business, helping out with the books and everything else pre-divorce. And it didn't, it didn't help the relationship the way they managed it, because it was, there was a lot of money stress. There was a lot of kind of work around the business, right? It's not like we were going to go take family vacations. It's not like there was a whole lot of time off. Everything kind of centered around the business, instead of looking for ways for those two things to work in tandem. So, I mean, I saw it growing up and probably didn't pay much attention to it because it was just what it was. But in hindsight, it showed me a lot of the ways that maybe other people experience business, and how the stress that it brings to them can be really something that erodes a relationship. So just with that as a little bit of backstory, why don't you share some thoughts on couples care? I mean, it's closing in on Valentine's Day. Heck, by the time they get to see this, it's going to be past Valentine's Day. So What you got?
Oh my gosh, I have so many things. So how to condense it? I think one of the biggest shifts for me was to really embrace the fact that we are a team. It's not him against me, me against him. Because there were many years where it was very difficult for me to receive coaching advice from him. And we even had to have Matt as a mediator. So Patrick would set up these meetings. He'd tell Matt, this is what you need to tell Holly. Matt would get on a call with me. He was like, all right, this is what you need to do. So
I'm going to intervene. Matt wasn't like a mediator, like sitting in the room with us.
No.
It was basically, Matt was like my proxy speaking on behalf of me, so I didn't need to be in the room, right? So, yeah.
So it's very, now looking back, I was the root of a lot of unnecessary frustration and stress for him because he only wanted to help and only wanted me to be successful. So it was not until I embraced the fact that I wanted him to be my coach, that I'm going to listen and receive and ask for help along the way.
When did that start? Is it like
I was
this
going to bring my
morning?
notebook. Was it 2015? I came down into your office and I was like, I'm ready.
It wasn't 2015.
It wasn't?
It was far more recent because, like, 2015, 16, you were in, like, you were going to events like Shalene Johnson's, and then you,
Okay, so
and then we were at the point that Holly joined Carrie Wilkerson's mastermind group, and I was the default guest speaker at Carrie's events, and Carrie joined our coaching group. So Carrie was getting coaching from me, Holly was getting coaching from Carrie, and then I would go do coaching there, and other people in attendance they would say, hey, you must get a lot out of this, or whatever else.
I had to experience what I had to experience to come to my own realizations. We all know that. We all have to go through our own journeys to get to where we need to be, to finally have these ahas. So once I hit that point, I was like, all right, so we're a team. He's there to help me. So I think it was more about me being proactive in how can I elicit his help rather than trying to figure it out all by myself, feel frustrated and stressed. And when I'm reacting and he's just there to help, I'm not receiving. So I really had to work on that. So to really set myself up for success was to get myself into these routines and get into planning and look ahead to kind of see where I needed to request that kind of help. And I mean, at one point we were doing like weekly business meetings where I would come in and check in, and incrementally we're making sure that I'm on track with what I need to be doing. And I mean, and that's just the business side.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't want to downplay the need for those. I mean, she's kind of got a rhythm of what she wants to do right now with her business, so there's not really a whole lot of need to have that sort of weekly interaction or whatever else at the moment. It doesn't, because we don't do it now, doesn't mean it's not valuable. It's just, once you hit kind of that level where you're just, okay, I'm comfortable here, then we can shift our priorities to other areas you want to improve or see more progress.
Well, and I think a lot of that is still like our best year ever kind of workshops, where we really put the bulk of the work in up front, and then we just execute. So that way it becomes very clear of, hey, what do you think about this? Or I need some help with that. It makes it really kind of simplifies and streamlines it.
So I will tell you on like the male perspective in our relationship as it relates to business, I had to find a better way to probably convey, like growing up, coaching guys, right? I've spent my entire adult life coaching people, trying to make sure that I found the right way to get the outcome we wanted and be less concerned with, okay, I told her the things that are true and valuable and important, and kind of make sure that I was shifting and being a better coach and saying, okay, how can I get her to embrace the things that we collectively are trying to accomplish in a way that feels good to her? And so I can tell you that I shifted away. So many people that I work with, because money is kind of a big factor for them, right? Like talking about, hey, I need this much revenue, I need this much personal income. That was not her motivator for her business. Having a certain number of clients, having a type of relationship with a certain number of clients, and money being a byproduct of that was more in tune with the way she thought. And so I had to be willing and capable of adapting to that. So when you're talking about the relationship that you have, if both parties are working in a business, I mean, you got to figure out a way to see it through their window, right? Like you've got to figure out how they think, and don't just try to impose the way you think or the way that you communicate on them, because I mean, we're different, and that's part of the beauty of it, right? Like you complement one another. So, I just want to make sure that comes across. I mean, she was very gracious, and that's rare that I would say that, right? In saying, okay, she wanted me as her coach or whatever else, but I think that all of us need to make sure that we understand that coaching isn't just instructing, right? Coaching is facilitating improvement and eliciting outcomes, and so that means a lot of times it's meeting somebody where they're at, and meeting somebody with really who they are, and moving them forward.
And it kind of ties back to what you were saying before about why you need to constantly be filling yourself with personal development, because you want to find different ways to present things. Because there were some times where you just kept trying to present things to me with different formats, with different words, really doing such a great job at simplifying that this is just what you need to focus on until it clicked. So I think that was a good example to help bring that, tie that back in. Yes, you pulled out all sorts
of fun index cards over there where I would put her entire business model on an index card.
Where are my props? But I was like, oh my gosh, each year, like he would have all of these index cards with all of these cool bullet points. And I'm like, look at all these genius ideas.
We could auction those off if we could. All right, so let's. So we don't. Go ahead.
Well, I really think that we should talk about 2019 and what became the impossible struggle that we went through with Alex, and how that helped us.
Okay. Fair enough. I was thinking, like just shifting to talking less business specific.
Okay,
so,
yes, more personal.
So yeah, so that works. So, so with Alex, and I will tell you this. I mean, we've had 3 pretty trying points in the last 5, 6, 7 years, right? Holly's sister was killed by a drunk driver, probably at this point, 7+ years ago. And then Alex got sick with an autoimmune condition that really took a toll on him, caused brain inflammation. And well, that's why I have this here, so hang tight.
And that was the start of 2019.
Yes, early 2019, triggered by what appeared to be strep throat. And then in 2020, Holly's dad passed away in very early 2020, like pre-pandemic stuff, right? And so we'll use the Alex experience probably as the best illustration of this, but in all of these, I mean, we see so many people go through so much of it's just part of what life is, right? Like nothing just stays the same. People are going through different things at various times. And I think the part with Alex was both of us, this wasn't like, hey, I need to pick up the slack for you on some stuff because so much of what you're dealing with is so heavy. In that case, both of us were really having to dive in and make sure that we were supporting one another and making sure that we were doing as well as we could do to take care of ourselves, while also meeting our obligations to you guys, to the businesses, right? So, where do you want to start with that?
I think that just heightened my awareness that to really look at, because yes, we can become so immersed in what we're going through, but to know that it's shared. So for me, it was really, it really made me in tune to paying attention to him and seeing where he was reaching his threshold, and me being able to kind of like a tag team, like tag, go ahead and take a step out, take a break, let me take over for this. And then we'd switch back and forth, because it felt like 24/7 for a period of time. It was just so, it was completely exhausting. But we knew that, I mean, this was our child, and we had to, you just go into overdrive. So we had to really watch out for one another, because I remember there were times where you would tell me, just go for a walk. You need to just get out of here, go for a walk, I've got this. And then there were times when I saw that it was weighing very heavy on you. I'm like, hey, take a break, let me jump in. And I think from that experience of just going through something so tumultuous, it really helped me to appreciate paying attention to that in our everyday relationship, and just noticing like the little things. And it's not just the little things of, oh, do something that shows some kindness. It's also kind of like being there when you kind of notice if something is maybe bothering you or weighing on you.
I'll be honest, that was a really tough thing for me to adapt to, because I was so used to being the quote-unquote caretaker, right? Like when she had experienced the stuff with her sister, it was like, okay, well, I'm just going to jump in and pick up the slack. I'm going to take on more of the parenting responsibilities. I'm going to take on more of the support our household, like business-wise, because her business would start to taper a little bit, so I knew I needed to pick up the slack a little bit. And so, you know, the idea of saying, hey, Holly, take a break, or I've got this, came very kind of naturally to me, right? But the idea of somebody doing that for me was very foreign, right? I had never experienced that to that point. And it was needed. It was necessary, because it was easily the most trying time in my life, because I was just so used to being the caretaker. Our house is like, man, I can't fix this, and I'm the fixer guy. And you know, and we divided up responsibilities even to this day. When Alex expresses great frustration with something, it gets taken out on me 99% of the time. And it dates back to me telling him when that was going on. And, you know, I mean, this poor child was experiencing brain inflammation, and there was so much, you know, anger and frustration. And yeah, and we kind of had an understanding that you direct that all to me. None of that goes to her. None of that goes to Tyler. You direct that all to me. And to date, like if he gets bent out of shape about something, I'm the one who would feel the brunt of it. And, you know, on the flip side, when it came to making sure, you know, he had to follow this incredibly restrictive autoimmune protocol diet. He took still to date, takes a pretty substantial, like a dozen supplements mixed into this concoction a couple times a day. A couple times a day that it really has helped him improve his blood work. It's made him probably more resistant. He's, knock on wood, he's been able to avoid some of the things over the past couple years, the getting sick and that sort of stuff that I think would have plagued him in the past. And she took responsibility for all of that. So we just kind of divided up responsibilities and said, okay, when you're at your limit, how can I step in and help? You did the same for me, and I think it made a world of difference because, as she alluded to early on, this was a team thing, right? And I kind of, it was interesting for me because I hadn't really had somebody do that for me, as I'd mentioned, but I had kind of always been of this team mentality, and I don't necessarily know that Holly grew up in an environment that was what was team-ish. So what else do we want to talk about on the couple side? Because that's dealing with the challenges, but also how do we make it better? Got any ideas on how we make this whole thing better?
Communication.
Yeah, so
I would say that like on just a daily basis, and like part of what came out of that experience was now I weave into part of what starts my day is a check-in with him, and it's a very simple, what do you have going on today? Is there anything I can do to help? Very simple. And it puts the ball in his court. He can do the same for me, and it's just kind of like this, we're just touching base. And then past that is more, and I don't know if that's going into planning, but kind of like on a weekly basis when we do weekly planning, I'm asking him what's coming up so I'm aware of what everybody's doing and what my role is, or if there's anything I can do to assist. So I'm in the know, and we help to minimize any last minute things that might pop up and that causes stress and frustration. So more of being proactive and just kind of being on the same page about what do we want to accomplish today, what do we want to accomplish this week, and what can we do to support one another.
thanks for listening to this episode of the Fitness Business School. And before you go, I have a quick announcement. When I first connect with a fitness business owner, they almost always ask me, how can I get more leads or how can I get more clients? Well, I have an exclusive offer for you, and it's going to help you do just that. As a listener of this show, you can test drive Fitness Lead Academy for 6 full weeks for just $1. Fitness Lead Academy is a one-of-a-kind program where you get done-for-you marketing tools and coaching to attract more qualified prospects and to convert them into paying clients. Imagine having 3 marketing emails written for you each and every week, 4 easy-to-deploy promotions provided to you that are proven to convert and they're ready to use, and proven ads and social media posts given to you each and every month as well. Plus, you have access to 3 weekly live video coaching sessions to help you with everything from dialing in your brand to navigating things like building funnels and getting ads approved. You get all of this and more when you join Fitness Lead Academy. And to prove that FLA can serve you as your virtual marketing department and not only save you plenty of time, but also consistently bring you more leads and clients, you can get access to the entire coaching program for 6 full weeks, again, for just $1. If it delivers for you in the way that I expect it will, you can continue on for just $199 a month. So basically, just 1 additional client each month and you're ROI positive. And I'm sure that if you apply what we give you, you're gonna get more than just 1 additional client each month, and you're gonna likely save at least 10 hours a month of work too. To take advantage of this special offer, just go to testdrivefla.com. Try it out for 6 full weeks. If it's not what you're looking for, you can cancel at any time. Just go to testdrivefla.com to get started.